What are AAA games? For the most part, it's probably a question that no one really cares about the answer to. The answer is usually just any game from a big publisher. But why call them AAA in the first place? Well, our story begins back with the North American video game crash of 1983, where revenues in the video game industry drops from $3.2 billion in 1983 to just $100 million in 1985, around a 97% drop. This pretty much destroyed the entire video game market and bankrupted a lot of companies that were producing consoles and home computers, most notably Atari, the fastest growing US company in history at that point. There were several factors that caused the crash. First of all, there were hundreds of consoles on the market. How many, you ask? Well, there was the Atari 2600, the Atari 5200, the Bally Astrocade, the Coleco Gemini, the Coleco Vision, the Fairchild Channel F System 2, the Emerson Arcadia 2001, the Magnavox Odyssey 2, the Mattel Intellivision, the Sears Telegame System, the Tandyvision and the Vectrex. Compare that to the Xbone, the PS4 and the Wii U today. Yeah, there was a lot of consoles at that time. Aside from that, inflation, loss of publishing control and games that were high profile but failed were all factors contributing to the crash. The short-term effects of the crash saw the end of several video game publishers as well as developers. Heard of Apollo, US Games, Magnavox or Coleco recently? Me neither. Millions of games were stuck on shelves as retailers could not return them, so the price of them plummeted, desperately trying to sell them off to get rid of them. The crash also started the rise of Activision as well as Nintendo, whose entertainment system, the NES, started the recovery of the market. In the long term, the dominance of the home console market shifted from the US to Japan, with Nintendo paving the way with little to no competition, with only the last few breaths of Atari and Sega's Master System to compete against. Atari finally stopped producing consoles in 1996 after the Atari Jaguar failed to compete with the PlayStation and the Sega Mega Drive. The US would only become a competitor in the console market again in 2001 when Microsoft released the Xbox, but that's a story for another time. Back to the topic at hand, and how this relates to the titular question of the origin of the term AAA games. With the modernisation of the video game industry post-crash well underway, gaming companies wanted a standard term to be able to distinguish good games from bad games. As Nintendo was basically the sole owner of the gaming market early post-crash, they were the first to try. They started using the Nintendo Seal of Quality, a badge awarded to games deemed good enough by Nintendo, who only allowed games to be published for the NES if they had been awarded the seal. If you saw a game that had been officially stamped with this seal, you could be sure that the game was good as Nintendo themselves had told you it was good. Keep in mind, however, that this only applied to Nintendo's gaming platforms. The Seal of Quality system worked fine until the rise of the PlayStation and later on the Xbox. The industry wanted a term that could be used across all platforms, a phrase that people would recognise and then instantly know what they were talking about. Over the following decade, people at gaming conventions and some companies internally started using the phrase AAA based on the academic grading system in the United States, where F is the worst and A is the best. The idea behind it was obviously the best games were grade A. This was used despite the fact that the grades B to F were not defined or used at all. A game was going to be simply grade A or nothing. Nevertheless, this phrase worked as people were automatically familiar with it due to it being already a system in schools. The reason AAA is used as opposed to a single A was that a AAA game supposedly excelled in three major areas of the gaming industry: quality, financial success and how innovative it is. Now you may notice that the first and last of these would have to be decided by critics and consumers to avoid bias, while the financial success would only be determined after the release of the game. So for a game developer to call their game AAA before release doesn't really make sense. However, as time went on, the original meaning of the phrase shifted as it was never really a formal thing anyway, just a term known throughout the industry. Has the meaning of the phrase been lost? Is it now a pointless badge to assign to games? Well, I'll leave you with something to think about. Minecraft, I'm pretty sure everyone can agree, is not a AAA game. However, it is innovative. Yeah, I know games such as Infiniminer exist, but you can't deny Minecraft popularised the concept and expanded on it. It certainly was a financial success, and many would agree that it is a high quality game in general. On the other hand, recent Call of Duty games many would argue do not have high quality, it's just the same formula churned out, and because of that they're also not very innovative. Sure, they are a financial success, but that's only a single A grade there. So despite what people say, if we use the original definition of a AAA title, Minecraft is more of a AAA game than Call of Duty is.